Just this week, Disney's new plus-size protagonist went viral. The internet debated one of Taylor Swift's new music videos and questioned whether it was fatphobic. So why are we arguing so much about weight? Well, the answer is pretty simple: because it affects most Americans. Nearly 3 in 4 adults are overweight. Some 40% are obese. As of this year, 56% of Americans say they're trying to lose weight actively. Now, there's a critical class element to this as well that gets missed in a lot of the discussion. As the CDC notes, overall, men and women with college degrees had lower obesity prevalence compared with those with less education. Among women, a 2017 study found from the CDC, overall obesity prevalence decreased with increased levels of income and educational attainment. So while food executives get rich off of questionable marketing practices at best, they lobby to get away with those, by the way. And magazine writers will cast fat phobia as a social justice issue between their spin classes. People who work 3 shifts, can't afford Pelotons, and live paycheck to paycheck are being told, well, it's not actually that important to prioritize diet and exercise. Those writers are putting up virtual virtue signal points on their own boards at the expense of people who look to them for accurate information. Remember Cosmo's This Is Healthy edition from the middle of the pandemic? A pandemic, by the way, that was targeting people who were dealing with obesity. The magazine, which is owned by Hearst UK, profiled women who wanted to, quote, open up about their personal journeys to reclaim healthy as their own. And Cosmo wasn't alone. The, quote, fat but fit debate has really raged over the last decade, and many publications eager to score clicks and social justice points went out at the healthy at any size limb. Now, to be fair, many outlets have done good coverage of research that suggests fat but fit is generally a myth, and some people are absolutely part of a well-intentioned effort to help everyone struggling with their weight feel confident in their dignity as a human being. As more people struggle with weight, more people need to hear that message, of course, but it cannot be conflated with deadly and misleading body positivity messaging either. And here's where we get to the big news. In early September, the journal Nature Reviews Clinical Oncology published a study titled, "Is Early Onset Cancer an Emerging Global Epidemic? Current Evidence and Future Implications." In that survey, researchers from Harvard reviewed global cancer data defined, as CNN reported, quote, that the incidence of early onset cancers is rising rapidly for colorectal and 13 other types of cancers, many of which affect the digestive system. And this increase is happening across many middle and high income nations. All right, so is this because of increased screening? That's a question a lot of people might wonder. The researchers actually address it. Quote, increased use of screening programs has contributed to this phenomenon to a certain extent, although a genuine increase in the incidence of early onset forms of several cancer types also seems to have emerged, they wrote. One of the researchers told CNN, quote, the spike is due to an unhealthy stew of risk factors that are probably working together, some of which are known and others that need to be investigated, saying, quote, many of these risks have established links to cancer like obesity, inactivity, diabetes, alcohol, smoking, environmental pollution, and Western diets high in red meat and added sugars, not to mention shift work and lack of sleep. And, the researcher added, there are many unknown risk factors as well, like a pollutant or food additives. Nobody knows. Nobody knows. Let's just focus on that point. CNN picked the study up in October, but few other media outlets focused on it at all. Regarding obesity, CNN wrote in its report on the study, quote, not only has it become more common to have a dangerously high body mass index, but people are becoming obese earlier in life, even in childhood. So these cancer risks are building decades earlier than they did for previous generations. So 40% of the adult population is obese. That number is rising. Obesity is now causing suffering at a higher rate, like cancer and death. The causes are likely all around us in the food we eat, the air we breathe, the chemicals we consume and wear and use in our houses and offices. But just CNN is going to focus on the study from Harvard researchers. We talked last week about what Kevin McCarthy plans to do if Republicans win the House, which will heavily be focused on, quote, oversight, because that's pretty much what you can do in a divided government. Republicans plan to investigate some good stuff: the Biden family lobbying grift, the origins of COVID, Just this week, though, the FDA issued yet another benzene recall, this time related to dry shampoo products. Benzene is a carcinogen. One expert said it is possible to refine the propane, butane, and isobutane, any of these propellants, to not contain detectable levels of benzene. So why can't corporations do that? Or why aren't they? There have been 6 benzene recalls this year, and this is just an example from one chemical. As we've emerged from the pandemic with a new awareness of how obesity interacts with health outcomes more generally, I'd love to know what evidence major food companies have about their products. I think a lot of Democrats would love to know that too, and a lot of independents. Now that Republicans are boasting a little bit about their broken relationship with the Chamber of Commerce, they can, at least in theory, just take the gloves off in every arena of corporate corruption, even ones that they've never touched before. So what better place to start than the one that is directly killing millions of us and making life significantly worse for millions of people on a daily basis? Technology is new in a lot of these areas. We don't think of technology with food as being new.
Cable news is ripping us apart, dividing the country, making it impossible to function as a society, and making it impossible to know just what is true and what is false. But the good news is they are failing and they know it.
That is why we're building something new, a new mainstream, a healthier one, something more trustworthy, something that we are going to need in one of the most pivotal times in American history. We are building up here for the midterms, for the upcoming presidential election, but we need your help. So if you can help us out by becoming a premium member today at breakingpoints.com, we're trying to change America for the better and the entire world.
So what are you waiting for, guys? Go to breakingpoints.com and sign up and help us build a new mainstream.